It's either we take over the world or we don't. I mean, we leaked our forecast as a content thing. Yeah, and on that particular budget, it's 5.4 million for the year. So it was like a 1.4 million or something profit.
And what does this New York expansion look like?
Lots of people knew us. Like, people were stopping us on the street in New York, like, oh my God, attention seeker. This was crazy.
No way.
It was honestly insane. Like, we cried a few times going, how is this even possible?
Crazy.
We are a company that has always been dead set on global domination. Like, it's always been at the forefront of this whole business.
Before we get into the episode, I just want to say a big thanks to my mate Andrew here at Airwolf Forest Motor Company for supporting the episode and the podcast.
We specialise in high-performance British, American and European cars. As a listener and a supporter of David Mel's podcast, I'd invite any listeners to get in touch, have a look at our website, www.efmc.co.nz. Come and see what we've got out here and we'll take care of you.
Okay, hello and welcome to the Stanley and I podcast. I'm David, your host, and I'm joined by Stanley. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Well, yeah, I mean, thanks for coming into the studio and recording this podcast. This is cool.
I love how this worked out.
Yeah.
I saw a post that you were, I think you might have commented on LinkedIn just saying you will literally say yes to anything. Anything. So here we are.
100%.
You said yes.
Yeah.
And you've got a studio. We're at your office in Auckland. This is awesome.
Oh, it's so easy too. Like, that's why we have this, just like people can drop in and do stuff with us. Or we have our own podcast that people can do as well. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And you do a daily one, is that right?
Yeah, we do on Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., 8 to 8:30. And we go live as well.
Yeah.
So it's cool, like a daily audience sort of thing. We've got a pretty robust process to get it up and live.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. So live questions, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's runs on TikTok live, and people on TikTok will like ask us questions as we go.
Gotcha.
But we usually we break down a creator every day. So, we'll pick, say, like Mr. Beast, and we'll talk about why it works and whatnot, and we'll break it down live, and then people ask us questions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow. And what's the future look like for that? Have you committed to a certain amount of time, or?
Yeah, look, the idea is for so we've got a newsletter. That's a real big thing for us this year, big push. The newsletter is literally just like a how-to for marketing. Like, it's just full of gold tips on how to market things better. And the podcast goes alongside that. So that's a daily newsletter. So then there's a daily podcast to go with it, which just draws out one of the topics, which is the creators. And so ideally it just goes as long as the newsletter goes on. Like, it's just, and like, I'm doing it at the moment, and Joni, who's also my team, does it. But the other team's swapping it out, and we will ideally have some other team come and take over most of it. We've just launched it as Joni and I, because we're probably the most recognizable faces from our company. Mm-hmm. But yeah, ideally it stays along forever.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I like it. What have you learned so far since doing that?
Doing the daily?
Doing the daily, yeah.
Oh, look, I am a real big believer in daily activity. Like, I think like building habits and stuff like that, it's so much easier when you do it daily. Like, it's way harder to do a weekly podcast or a monthly podcast than it is to do a daily one, because it just becomes part of your life. So when we decided to do it, I don't think I learned a whole lot from I knew it was going to work, but like from the actual podcast itself, we've learned heaps of things of what's valid and what's good for it. We used to try fit too much into it. And it's only 30 minutes, and we tried to have like 5 or 6 things we were going to talk about. And then we realized that was too much. We just had one thing, talk about it in depth, give a lot to it, and then let the audience ask us questions. So that's been a pretty big learning curve for us, because we tried to do all these other little segments and be funny and do all those things, and it just didn't work. So instead now we just like one creator, deep dive into them, and then let the audience ask us stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Oh, it's easier too. You don't have to plan as much and think as much. And I think you'd know with podcasts, like, there's so much admin to a podcast. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's easy. You hear Gary Vee, like, do an hour podcast, chop it up. So yeah, but the admin it goes into making and like booking guests and coming out to Auckland and booking people to do podcasts with you. It's like this whole administration.
That's right.
Whereas at the moment, all we're doing is like, we know our shit when it comes to content creators.
Yes.
And content. So we just pick a content creator and we just talk about them.
Yeah.
And we know enough that we don't have to prep too much.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, and then, it just makes an easy podcast. I don't want to put, like, if you're doing daily stuff, you want to take away all the friction.
Yeah. A big thank you to IHF Health Club for supporting this episode. I think you're right. Like I was just talking about the setup before, and for me that friction looks like just having the setup in 2 bags. You know, it can be transportable. I generally do them in one location, but there's just as little friction as possible, so I can just have conversations.
That's it.
And then I send it off to this legend Toby, who does the editing.
Yeah, nice.
And by editing, he cuts it up into shorts and then posts it as well. So you know. It's about creating something that's sustainable, and you can do the bits that you enjoy, I think.
Exactly. You don't want to spend too much time doing something like a podcast. Like you just want it to be done consistently, and it builds over time.
Yeah. Over this last, I've done about 110-ish episodes now. And cool. And since probably having half of them with guests, so many people have either got their own or thought about doing their own. And so it's really cool to be able to talk to people about either getting involved or, you know, contemplating it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a cool medium.
Yeah, I agree. And because we do our own, we're often asked on to a lot of them like we are here and things like that, because people say, well, they've done podcasts and they said they'd say yes to them and things. And I think that from a brand building perspective, it's great because like, you know, I have to spend an hour here with you, but like the content that you'll produce, I'll be exposed to new audiences and all that.
Exactly.
And so I'm happy to do them as often as possible.
Yes.
Like, I mean, it's free content. Like,
and it's an asset, right? It's out there for you know, the foreseeable future.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, and like so many podcasts we've been on, the type of people who ask us to be on podcasts are in the similar world to us, right? Like they're in business or they're doing something in business. And so a lot of their audience are probably good audience for us as well. So it makes sense. Why wouldn't you do it?
Great mindset. Yeah. Do you have any rules? Like, do you have anything like if someone's just like got a brand new podcast, for example? Nah, you're all good.
Nah, I'm all good.
It's all good.
I'm all good. Like,
yeah.
I had a brand new podcast once.
Yeah.
And I had to ask people to come on it, and people said yes. Why wouldn't I say yes to them?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Like I've got a girl on TikTok at the moment who's like literally brand new to TikTok. She's got 300 followers. She's trying to create a business out of nothing. She's about to not lose her job, but her contract's about to end in July. And so she's got like 3 months to figure out a income before that happens. And so I actually said to her, pitch to me why I should fly you up from Wellington to come to to do an episode with me up here. I'll pay for it all, but you got to pitch me why it's worth my time. And we're having this back and forth on TikTok, making video replies to each other, trying to work it out. So like I go as far as that, like I'm paying people to have me on their podcast.
That's awesome.
You know, because I'm like, you're awesome. I love what you're doing. Like I love that you're trying. I'm fortunate to be in a position at the moment where I can do that. Whereas like for her, like we joked about the other day, it was like her last $600 would have been the cost of flights if she was to come herself.
Right.
And I'm like, no, like for you, it's your last $600. For me, it's a rounding error. Like, and not to be a dick. Like, I'm not saying we don't have lots of money, but like we're a whole business paying for it. You're one individual who's 22 or whatever.
Massive difference.
It's a massive difference, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was that age, or even when we first started this business, like everyone who helped me was so valuable to our success that, you know, it's the whole takes a village to raise, right? Like no one gets to this on their own. Like, and if you try to say you do, then you're probably a bit of a dick. Like most people have got support around them.
Yeah.
Right. They all do. So the more we can go back, the better.
Yeah. No, I love that. It was I do a weekly newsletter. Not daily.
Yeah. Oh, daily's an effort. It's an effort.
I quite like it though, because as you say it, it's just like if it's a daily thing, then it's just it's every day. You know, there's no mental cognition required, right? No. Like you know you got to do it.
Yeah.
But that was the topic of today's one, was getting the right person in the right seat.
Yeah.
And whether that's an employee or a vendor or a supplier, it's just like whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
I think having people that are doing something they enjoy, good at, love, then it's just going to work out so much better, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Right person, right seat's a big thing. I mean, I don't know if we do EOS, the coaching, our business coach uses the EOS framework, and they talk about right person, right seat a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that for us is always the thing. Sometimes we've got the right person, we just got them in the wrong seat. And just like, it's not on them, it's on us to get them in the right seat. And then once you do, I mean, they take off.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, 100%. And then like helping the right people find their right seat. Like this girl, for instance, from TikTok, like she's the right person. She's got the right attitude. She just hasn't quite found where she needs to be. And I'm like, I know where to put you, but you're not going to work for me. You're going to do your own thing, but you just need a little bit of nudge. You just haven't made all the same mistakes I have yet.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Do you consume much podcast content yourself, or?
I don't listen to as many long form podcasts. I instead of podcasts, I do audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
So I listen to lots of audiobooks. That's my podcasting rather than an actual podcast. I probably consume podcasts through shorts. That's probably how I, through TikTok or YouTube shorts or Instagram Reels. So, every once in a while I'll get a podcast. Like probably the one I watch the most is Colin and Samir.
Oh yeah, those guys are good.
Yeah, they're real good. I
like
really
them.
enjoy their podcasts. The reason I like it is their podcast. It's not just about creators. It's about creators in business. The way that their creators are developing businesses with their audiences, which is a little bit what my one's about as well. So it's kind of similar. Like if I was have a competitor in my podcast, it's similar. They would be it, but like they're amazing. Those guys are.
They got a really good attitude, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know how I stumbled across them, but it was a while ago, and just seeing some of the YouTube content, it's just good, right?
Oh, they're good.
Good energy. Nice. Yeah.
They do their research. They do things properly. They don't like shortcut anything. Like they are seasoned media professionals, whereas like from my end, I'm a business person trying to build a media engine. So I come from I'm much more agile and rough around the edges of what we do. Whereas when you watch them, like everything they do is like meticulous and they've done it right. They have this feeling of like relaxed. We pulled it together.
Yes.
But you can tell like they are very slick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you have any top 5, say, books?
Oh,
like you
I
mentioned,
got so
audiobooks?
many. Actually, if you go into our toilets and there's 3 toilets and the smallest one is a white room and there's a bookshelf in there and it's all my favorite books. And so there's stuff like what have we got in there? We got in like Legacy by James Kirk, the book that he wrote about the All Blacks 15 rules. A bunch of there's some Seth Godin, This Is Marketing and Tribes. There's Ryan Holiday, Ego is the Enemy, An Obstacle is the Way. What else is in there? Shit, I'm on the spot. But yeah, there's those. I think recently one of my favorite books at the moment is Unreasonable Hospitality. Really good book. It's written by one of the guys who owned 11 Madison Park, which was one top restaurant in the world.
Wow.
And they won it not necessarily on the food, but on its service. And like they were just unreasonable with their hospitality. And a big push for us this year is customer intimacy rather than product leadership. Like we've sort of realized we probably can never make the best content like that. Like what even is that metric? Like how do we do that? And can we even do it? But we can be a company that has this very intimate relationship for our clients and have them all love us. And so that book teaches you a lot about that and what they did. Just unreasonable stuff. Like, like for instance, on one of the stories he talked about is they had a bunch of people visiting New York. They came in for dinner, and one of the servers overheard them talk about how I can't believe we came all the way to New York. We did all these amazing restaurants, but we still didn't get a New York hot dog. And so the server ran out this road, bought some hot dogs, took it to chef. They plated them up really nicely, did this whole thing, and then served it.
Wow.
And I don't know if you've seen the show The Bear, but in season 2, it's about chefs and stuff. They replicated that same scene from the book, but they did a Chicago deep dish pizza.
Right.
So it's become this real famous story about what 11 Madison Park did to be the best there is. And so it's just that attention to detail. Like me and the team, we talk about it. The clients say stuff all the time, and when you hear it, act on it. Act on that thing. And so now, I mean, our budget on sending people gifts and experiences and stuff has gone through the roof, but the clients love us because of it. And that's all from that Unreasonable Hospitality book. So that book's one of the best books I've read in a long time. And I'm an ex-hospitality professional. I used to run hotels for a living, so it has a little bit more meaning to me. But especially for this year, it's the season we're in. It's just, for me in professional services industries, you could be really good at what you do and whatever, there is a way, but actually we've had clients who we've had 50 million views for them in 3 months of all organic, and they've still pulled the contract, and it's nothing to do with what we've done, but all because we haven't built a strong enough relationship with them. We're so easy to cut, even though we've exceeded expectations at 100x, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So all our clients that are still with us and our longest clients is because we've got this really close-knit relationship, this customer intimate approach.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's stop trying to be the best content creators and let's just be the best overall package for these people. So yeah, so anyway, I went on a tangent from top 5 books to that is the book of the season for me right now.
That is a great tangent though. I really resonate with that. It's excellent. I was getting a rental car yesterday and I just thought the exact same thing. This company just went over and above.
Nice.
And they were instantly nice. You know how like some service industries can be a little bit either vanilla or just like indifferent?
Yeah.
These guys were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I was raving about it the whole day. And I was like, wow, what a nice change to go in with quite low expectations, but to walk out being like, wow,
It's such a good experience.
they've really made my day like noticeably better
Yeah.
just through like a couple of quality interactions.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I talk about those sorts of experiences all the time when you have them, right? Like you'll tell the story to a whole bunch of people and all it took them was to be nice. They didn't cost them anything.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what like rental car SEO is like, right? Like it's hectic.
That's
You know, like
Yeah.
really competitive.
Yeah.
So whether they've realized that and invested heavily in like customer service training, love it.
Oh yeah. I think it's one of those things that like sets all service industries apart, that they forget that we're actually in the service industry. You know, we're not in the car rental space. We're in the service industry. Like that's what we're actually doing here. Like at the end of the day, 4 wheels and that moves, they're all the same. The product they give you is actually all the same.
That's it.
The only difference is the service.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm huge on that. Like we say that to the guys all the time in the morning briefing. So we do a 30-minute morning briefing every morning, the whole team. And we go around like, first thing we do is nominate. We tell someone who's done one of the core values from the day before, like highlight one of the stuff. But the thing we finish on is all out of this book, Unreasonable Hospitality, they called them legends. And they're called legends as in you do stuff for people that become legends in the business. Like, oh, remember that thing we did for such and such? And it becomes this talking point of our culture. And so we call them legends as well. We stole the terminology where we'll just talk about the legends we did the day before for clients. Like this week, the guys gave one of our clients had a baby and they got this big baby hamper from the team and all that sort of stuff. And just things like that will bring them up, you know, and they're not always gifts. Sometimes they're just like, you know, like one of the legends last year was on Christmas Eve, I sent video messages to all our clients, like just me in the office before Christmas, just wishing everyone Christmas, like thank you for the year and stuff. And like, that's a legend. Like I got clients sending them back crying.
Wow.
Like so grateful for it, you know, and like those are the bits that you really want.
Amazing.
So it doesn't always cost. Sometimes it's just like acknowledging people.
Yeah. Those subtle things sometimes carry so much more weight.
Yeah.
Especially when they're unexpected and when it's true and like authentic, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long have you been going with the business?
So we've been going for about 4.5 years now. Yeah, pretty much 4.5 years. I moved back to New Zealand in 2019. I used to live in Australia and everywhere else, Japan, UK. But I moved back, quit hospitality, got into... actually, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just moved back to New Zealand, started meeting people and building my brand on LinkedIn. I actually didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I had enough runway in cash to keep me going for a couple of years.
And not hospitality though.
Nah, well...
You're looking for a change.
Yeah, it wasn't that I was looking for a change as much as like... food and beverage hospitality is a real hard game that you need a lot of money for to be successful, and there's a real high chance of failure in hospitality. And I'm very good at hospitality. I was the Mr. Fix-It guy. I used to get sent around places, but I was in hotels mostly because hotels make better money. You know, the hotel side of hospitality is better, but I didn't have a spare 50 million to buy a hotel. So like that was definitely not the option. And so then I realized that like, well, actually I've got 2-year runway to live as long as I don't use too much of that money to start the business. And so it made sense that it was a service-based business to start with because there's less capital expenditure. I already had the tech, I already had the computers and the phone. So really I just needed an email address. And so I just started, and then one thing led to another, and we lockdown was a huge thing for us because I was building a brand on LinkedIn, growing my brand there, and then I did that solid for 6 months, having coffees with random strangers. I just moved back to New Zealand, so I didn't have any networks. I'd been gone for 12 years. And then lockdown happened. Everyone's like, "Oh, Stan, can you do that thing you're doing on LinkedIn for us?" And then that just took off, and then it's just grown into. I mean, essentially, we're an advertising agency now. But so it's been about 4.5 years and just been a crazy ride.
And did I read a lot of personal branding?
A lot of personal branding. So the mix is changing a lot now. Like I would say that like half our clients are personal brand, but 90% of our revenue is full scale social media management and brand, a lot of brand work, not brand identity, but like brand positioning and strategic direction for marketing. Just because the retainers are bigger. I mean, like, let's say I was going to bring you on as a client, like I can't charge you anything near what I was charged by New Zealand, right? Like
for sure.
It's just a whole different ball game. So we've got personal branding is like always a niche we'll own. Like there's not a lot of people who do what we do for personal brand. But the money's nowhere near the same. It's real profitable, don't get me wrong, like high profit margin. And we've got the structure down really well. We know how to do it. We've got a really good team for it. But yeah, we're talking 10 times, if not more, 20 times the revenue. So personal brand's a big part of what we do. Yeah, it's definitely big. It's getting less and less of our total revenue as we go on. But like, I don't think we'll ever get up. Like, it's such a cool part of the business too, like working with individuals and helping them do stuff. Like, it's so cool. You get to know those clients really intimate because it's like often they're solopreneurs and they've got us, an accountant, and maybe an EA, and that's it. That's their whole team.
Yeah.
They don't need anyone else, right? Like someone does their admin, someone does their finance, and someone does their marketing, and they do all the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a cool part of the business.
It's cool. It's it's something I've been interested in for a long time, and it's still a great opportunity, I think, for a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, people out there, right?
Yeah.
Not using that tool well enough or
Not
effectively
at all.
enough,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like this, it's just putting out content, right?
Just put out content.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed that a lot of Kiwis will use it as an excuse. Oh, we're just Kiwis, or a bit shy and whatever. But like what I've found over time, like we've had clients from all around the world. Everyone has this like, there's two parts of it. There's an insecurity piece that like they just, who wants to listen to me? Why would anyone care? Blah blah blah. And so there's that piece. And then there's the other bit that they I don't need it. I get all my business through referrals. And it's like, yeah, but your referrals come from your reputation, and your reputation is just your personal brand, just called something different.
Different word, right? Yeah.
Just a different word.
Yeah.
Except you just didn't build that reputation online. You built it in person. What if we could just like 10x that reputation online? Just do the same things you do in person that people love you for
With
and
scale.
put it online.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be all salesy and stuff. I was like, well, that's not personal branding. That's selling. Like those are two different things. Like,
Yeah, totally.
we often say to people, like, especially for like professional service or B2B clients, the content we're going to make for you is the same stories you're talking about at a networking event. Sometimes the same stories you're talking about at the Sunday barbecue. Like we want personal stuff. People get to know you. It's a personal brand. Like we're not trying to sell your services. Like no one cares about an accountant talking about accounting.
No,
Like
it's more about who are you? Like what makes you different?
Exactly.
Right? What are you interested in? Right?
Yeah.
What gets you going? Sort
exactly.
Of thing. Yeah.
What's your story?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. Have you read or listened to They Ask You Answer?
No.
The book?
No.
It's largely around content-based marketing and a parable or a story. The guy, the author, he had a business in the States, and essentially that's exactly the premise of the book. It was a pool business, right?
Yeah.
And so he'd have like so many people in the pool industry, but no talk about pricing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got to inquire. It's like
Yeah.
everyone wants to know that, right? Like, what are we looking at roughly? We're not going to hold you to it, but what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And so he, creates this system and this business based purely about what everyone wants to know, but isn't finding the answers to.
Yeah.
So it's worth a look.
Yeah. They ask you answer.
They Ask You Answer.
I'll
Yeah.
have to have a look.
Yeah. Marcus Sheridan, I think, is the author.
Yeah. I love it. A good concept.
Yeah. And did I see also somewhere that you were quite public about the revenue goal for this year?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes.
Again, not very Kiwi, quote unquote. Yeah.
No, I would share more about stuff if it wasn't for my wife and the accountants.
Gotcha.
There's some stuff that they're like, you should probably keep this private. And I'm like, I don't really know why. Like, tell me why. And they can't really answer, but also it's a fight not worth having. But yeah, like total revenue goals, always like my forecasts. I mean, we leaked our forecast as a content thing. And like, it's all legit. Like people are having a look at it and they're like, is this real? And then some people are like, it has to be real. The numbers are too accurate. Like this is an actual budget. Like, and like, so yeah, like, yeah. And on that particular budget, it's 5.4 million for the year.
Yeah.
And its profit target was not accounting for the aggressive growth that we'll try go for. So it was probably more like a lot more conservative growth approach. So it was like a 1.4 million or something profit. We won't get that. We won't even be close to that. Like if we get the 400K profit, I'd be stoked.
Yeah.
We just reinvest everything back into it. So we've got some pretty like hefty goals on how to grow. But yeah, I'm more than happy to share all that stuff. Like there's a part of me that like we've got transparent salaries in the team. There's a spreadsheet. Everyone can see everyone in the team has access to all our financials. They know how much money's in the bank account. They know how much money I'm spending. They know everything if they want to. It's all, they don't even have to ask. They could just go in and look.
Right.
And in fact, 2 of the departments have the salaries as part of their work, their WIP meetings that they do. It's in there because they need to know like, what do I do translate to what money?
Yes.
So we're real transparent. Like I originally wanted to put the salaries transparent to the world so they understand like, no, this is why it costs what it does because this is what we pay people.
Yes.
But then some staff are like antsy about the fact that everyone knows their salary, let alone the whole world know what they're thinking. So
that's the line.
That's the line.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do it, but yeah, not all people are okay with that, which is fine.
And you can also understand that point of yeah.
There is a bit in there, so I get that. But I want them all to know. Like I used to do it in hotels. Like in hotels, all the P&Ls were, you let all the teams look at them. They all knew each other's salaries if they wanted to. And the reason is it ends up stopping people like wondering what everyone's on and going, I want more money and I can't believe that guy's paid more than me. And I was like, but the guys know now. Like, and as long as you pay fairly, I think it keeps me honest. You know, I can't underpay people because they're like, why the hell am I getting paid 30 grand less than the guy I do the same job as?
Yeah.
I can't do that, right?
Yeah.
Like it keeps me honest too. And so I think, like I'm a big believer in transparency as much as I can. So leaking stuff to the public, like I'd want to do more, but I'm just not allowed.
Yeah, I quite like it. I having the challenge that I've got, the 10 million in 10 years, and the name of this podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of people find that quite hard to get their head around, you know, they're like, it's quite irregular to talk about money in that way, but you know, I find it
massive.
positive. I find it to be like a helpful thing.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think the way, because I grew up really poor as well, like real poor. Like we grew up South Auckland, and for me, these days, I often think about like not talking about money keeps people poor. I think it keeps you poor because you don't understand what's possible and what's out there. And like a lot of people I talk to come from the same what I do, and we talk about the money and things that we're generating in this business. Not that I'm taking a lot of money out of it, but the business itself. People don't even realize that's possible. They're like, how do you even do that? Like that's because they never talk about money. And for me, I think the more you talk about it, the more you realize the possibilities of what's possible and what you can do. So I'm for it. Like that's why I try to tell the guys, I take them through the P&Ls. Like, and half my guys, I'm telling them like, you're not going to be with me forever. Like you're so talented. Like this is a blueprint of what you could go do in your own way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm fully for it. I think it just keeps people poor if you don't talk about it enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, just on that, talking about it enough, I get a lot, like publicly talking about that. I have so many people coming to me going, I want to help you get there. Like, hey, I've got this lead for you. Like, this might help you.
That's what I've noticed as well. Like
Yeah.
I've, through the podcast, through business coaching, through other people in my network, like it just opens up people that believe in the journey. And like I've got this one guy that comes to mind that has just been incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
He's I'd call him a friend, but it's more just he wants to see me win, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, holy shit, this is incredible. Like how do I, reciprocate value? It's like, no, you just keep doing what you're doing. Like I'm pumped for you. Like just keep doing it.
Exactly. I get the same. I've got like quite a lot of like mentors who are like, 20 or 30 years older than me. And they've been there, they've done it, they've built their careers, they've made their money, and now they see me in themselves. And so they're like, Stan, my return on this is that I get to help you get to where I got to faster.
Yeah.
And I get a kick out of it because I've done my dash.
Yes.
I'm old now, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And those people wouldn't have come to me if I hadn't told everyone my goals.
Absolutely.
They would never have.
Yeah.
They just think, here's another kid trying to do a thing.
But yet again, the value of content, putting it out there, and who knows who's going to come across it.
That's it.
Yeah.
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 Like I just had a meeting with a guy today who saw my post about an investor offering us a bunch of money to invest in what I should do. And in that particular post, I wrote about we're never going to take that particular person's money, but it was made a good LinkedIn post. And then he came in going, I want to give you money. Now he's like going away. He's like, not only do I want to give you money, I want to help you cap raise a bunch of other strategic partners who can help you do it. So I said to him, look, I just go away, figure it out, come back to me, tell me what it is. Like I'm always, a deal's a deal. Like I'm happy to look at it. We've not needed any investment ever.
Right.
But he's like, yeah, but you're at the right stage now. We can put some fuel on this. I'm like, hey, I'll look at every deal. Just pitch me. But that came in because he saw that other post.
Right.
Of me being transparent about people offering us money and me pretty much probably going to say no to it.
Right. Yeah.
So I think the more you share, the better.
Just a miss of alignment. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like that particular person who's offered us money is great person, but just like there's no strategic value there. There's just money. Right. And money's cool, but like I can find clients. I can find money. Like getting the strategic alliance is the right thing. Like people who can open doors I couldn't open myself. Mm-hmm. So much of the world's still done on who knows who. Yeah. And there are some deals you'll never get into unless you know the guy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that. Getting the right strategic partners.
Yeah.
Because if I have to give away equity, I don't want to just have money in return. No. I want these doors open. I'll never open because I'm from South Auckland and could never have known those people.
Yeah. What's Auckland like to do business in? I guess I've spent a little bit of time here, but with reference to say Christchurch, for example, is it?
For me, like I'm a bit of a the way I look at life is that like everything is the same everywhere. It's all dependent on how much effort you put in. Like everyone will say different things, like Auckland's a bit bigger and maybe it's a bit more cutthroat compared to say Christchurch. Maybe it's more relationship driven, but then like it's all just a scale of things. So I think like, because we did 10 weeks in New York last year to help expand that, and everyone's like, oh, that's gonna be real crazy. But I went to New York, it's just like Auckland but more people. It's no different. And then every time I've been to Wellington or Christchurch, I honestly just think of them as the same. There's just like less people there, so there's less happening. But if you're doing the work, you'll still stay as busy. Like, I mean, look at Christchurch. Look how many amazing businesses have come out of Christchurch.
Totally.
So I think Auckland, like for me, the only reason I'm in Auckland is because my family's from Auckland. I grew up here. But I don't, like, even going to New York, I didn't see any difference really. And when I first talked about it with people, I was like, yeah, like, there's like a willingness in New York. There's more winners in New York, I'd say, because like there's a bias for the type of people it attracts, like if you can make it in New York, you make it anywhere. So there's a bunch of people trying to make it.
Is that a song?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe I just came up with it. No. But yeah. And, like, I think in Auckland, it's a similar thing. Like a lot of people in New Zealand, if they're trying to find the big smoke, this is the only real big smoke there is in this country. So you'll over-index on people who are a bit more entrepreneurial, maybe, or at least people who are willing to take some risks. There's probably that sort of world. But actually, I'm like, it's the same way I think of content. Like, there's nothing special about content. Just make better content. Like, don't worry about analytics or anything. Just make better stuff. Same in business. Like, running a business in Christchurch or running one in Auckland is the same. Just be good at running business and you'll make it work. Because, how many every city in New Zealand has great business stories just because they got good business people behind them.
Totally.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit naive, but I just kind of think like wherever you are doing business in that city, there might be some cultural differences here and there, but at the end of the day, a good deal is a deal.
Yeah, true.
Like if you get entrepreneurs in a room and the deal works, they'll do it.
Yeah.
They don't care what the cultural differences is. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. I think like my philosophy and theory on it is that like regardless of the city you're in, it's all about the community and the people that you're in working with or hanging out with, right?
Yeah.
Like regardless of size.
Exactly.
New Zealand's got good people. New York's got good people.
That's it.
And
I think about
just finding your sort of tribe, so to speak.
I agree. And like when you think about a business like my size and, we might have, 45 clients on the roster at any one time or something like that. And 45 of 1.8 million, like people, like, you know what I mean? Like, even if you go businesses, I don't know, what was there 30,000 businesses in Auckland?
Yeah. Tiny.
I'm tiny.
Yeah.
And if I went to Christchurch, I could find 45 businesses.
Yeah.
Or if I went to Hamilton. So like, most businesses aren't going to go in and be like, oh, I'm going to get 29,000 of the 30,000. Like that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So to have a really successful business, you don't need that massive of market share. You can have not even 1% and be fine and have a really good business. It's all about how the quality of those people you got around, like what you're saying, right? The community of them all.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't really buy into the like, do business here, do business there. The only reason we're going to New York is that like there are larger contracts there. And in Auckland, there's probably larger contracts than maybe what there is in Christchurch because of head offices and things like that. And in New York, you've got the global office headquarters for a lot of big businesses. So, you know, the deals there are sizably different. And we are a company that has always been dead set on global domination. Like it's always been at the forefront of this whole business. Is like I don't need this business to retire with. Like I was lucky enough to do a lot of my career in Australia, so I've got a very good superannuation that I can retire on. Me and my wife we're going for broke. It's either we take over the world or we don't.
I like this.
You know, like there's no in between.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason we're going to New York is just like, no, I want to do business everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And what does this New York expansion look like?
So at the moment, so we got a bit of a foundation client over there. They're a Fortune 100 company. They're a $50 billion company. They're massive.
Right.
Really lucked our way into that. Like a lot of people knew us in New York more than we thought when we went. So we went over for 10 weeks purely as like a feasibility study. Just like, let's see what's out there and see if we could live here.
Yeah.
So it was my wife and Joni and her husband. Joni's our internal content creator and short form video strategist. So
yeah,
her and I are the face of the business essentially. And so we went over. Lots of people knew us. Like people were stopping us on the street in New York. Like, oh my god, attention seeker. This was crazy.
No way.
It was honestly insane. Like we cried a few times, going, "How is this even possible?"
Crazy.
And then we lucked into a couple of people who wanted to work with us. So we set them back up with the team here, and got them started. And so there's one client that we're still with that we're going to continue to work with. Big contract, huge, and so it's just now a matter of getting them to start because it's such a big company. It could take 6 months just to get the deal through the contract pipeline.
Yeah.
So we're hoping for that to be July, and we'll head back. And then the idea is that the same lot of us will go back and start to build that. Find some more contracts. People knew us. Just keep working on it. New Zealand's team is like very stable, really good team. Like the team here is now 20. I mean, we're at 26 in total now, and we will have about 34 in the next 6 weeks or so. We're just hiring about 8 now. And so we'll leave a team of 30 here, and then we'll all go over. The 3 of us will go over. And then the goal in New York is just to keep acquiring clients, build some team there, build some capability. This team I'll be back and forth a bit as CEO, but that team in New York will start to build itself. And once that's done, we reckon it'll take us about 2 or 3 years to get that really going. We should be able to do New York faster, obviously, than we did Auckland because we'd start from scratch here. And then Europe or Asia next, and just keep moving until. I mean, that's the goal. It's either that or go broke. Like it's one or the other. It's like there is no in between.
That's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Like, it's fun.
It is. Well, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. What made you choose New York? Just because it's the biggest, baddest you could. Yeah.
It's the hardest one.
Right.
In our mind, it's the hardest one. And no matter what is happening in the world and like economies or whatever, New York's still global offices for most of the biggest companies in the world. Even when you look at like, when I say biggest companies, like in our world, you're not really going to go after Apple or things like that just yet. But having a New York office first is like, there's so many big, massive corporations there. It's that there's the money in New York too. Like the contracts are bigger. Everything's just bigger in New York. I mean, so are salaries for staff, but that's another story. It's also a time zone thing. So we've had clients in UK and stuff like that, and that's really hard from here. But New York's only 5 hours. It's 5 hours ahead the day before. So it's not that bad. Like that's easy to work with New Zealand. But then a New York office could deal with UK really easily, whereas New Zealand and the UK sucks.
It's the opposite, right?
Yeah, it's literally opposite. So it's 7 a.m. there, 8 p.m. here or something like that. It's just not doable. So that was another thing. It allows us to get UK earlier because we've always struggled with our clients in the UK, and we don't have any long-term clients in the UK because the relationship breaks down. It's too hard. So there was that. And then also my wife and I just love New York. Like, it's just a very cool city.
It is a cool place.
It's really cool.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's why. That was probably the main reason.
Yeah.
It's just a very cool city. It was on our bucket list to always live there.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. I got such a good memory of running around Central Park.
Oh, yeah.
30th birthday, listening to Jay-Z.
Nice.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just burnt into my memory. Right?
Yeah. It's such a cool city. We all fell in love with it. We lived in West Village while we were there for 10 weeks, and just like, it was just the best. Just
felt,
the best.
Felt right.
Yeah, it felt right. It felt like home, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it felt, I think New York's like one of those cities where there's not very many Americans. Like, it's just a melting pot of the world.
Yeah, it's a real mix. Isn't
Like,
it?
I never once got asked where I was from. No one asked where I was from because everyone was from somewhere.
Yeah.
So no one asked.
Yeah, wow.
You know, and so it's just like, and it just felt right. And like, it, like we talked about before, like, how's it doing business in places? The thing in New York, the only difference really there is that, like I said, it's a place full of winners, of people who are trying. And you get weeded out really fast if you're not. Like, if you're faking being a winner and you can't make it, you can't stay there. It's too expensive.
You're
it's
out
too
of there.
hard. You're
Yeah.
out. So it does over-index in like people who are trying. It does then bleed in. There's a lot of like a lot of arrogance and stuff in there as well, which it is what it is. But actually, like, a lot of people, Americans, I think they're optimists. So that was the other cool thing about America, is like everything's doable. Whereas here in the British more influence, it's like everything's not doable, but let's try work through and we'll see if we can find a way.
Yeah.
Where there it's like, it's definitely doable, even to the point of delusional.
Yes.
And so it's the opposite end of the scale.
Totally different, right?
Yeah, it's totally different.
You got the cynicism on one end, and then the, unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make it happen.
Yeah, just make it happen, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Which I kind of like, because I'm kind of like that. Like, me and my partner, my wife, like, she's very much, we're opposites. I'm the optimist and she's the pessimist.
Right.
But it's good. It works good for us because she keeps me grounded.
It's probably healthy, yeah.
It's very healthy. Because I would do dumb stuff otherwise.
Yeah. There's some great content creators from New York, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Some of the best.
There's top tier, right?
Some of the best. Some of my favorite, like Casey Neistat
Yeah.
on YouTube. Like, he's
So good.
a
right?
legend. You know?
Totally.
Even like MKBHD when it comes to tech. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's New Jersey, but same, close enough. And then also just on like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, there's just heaps of them.
How about Sirhan? Do you see?
Yeah,
his stuff?
Ryan Sirhan. Yeah, we saw all his signs while we were out as well.
Oh yeah.
Saw his Sirhan building. We walked past it in Soho.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
He's cool. I love what he's done. I love his journey and his story and how he capitalized on the attention and just like changed the industry essentially.
Massively. Yeah. So
Smart
great,
guy.
Great energy.
Yeah. So I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess Gary Vee, the home.
Yeah.
Of, yeah.
Gary Vee, of course. We tried to find him while we're there. I mean, we did it as some content jokes, but like, he's definitely someone who we want to meet one day because like essentially got a similar business model, except he also does paid media and we don't. But he's just like, when I was in hotels and I always knew I wanted to do my own thing, it was from watching him that I was like, I could do this. I could. That's what gave me the confidence to quit in the first place and move back. It's because I was watching him and his story and going, well, I can do that.
Was it watching the Monday morning video?
Oh, I don't know. I just
that
watched
one?
heaps. Which one was it?
It's like where he's on a corner of a street and he's talking about like Monday morning.
Oh, no.
And if you're Monday, if you're not pumped about Monday.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. It was that and so much more. Like, I just think it made sense. I think the way that he said stuff made sense. Like, I always understood it. But then he was talking about that. And then I had a guy in Australia teach me LinkedIn for hotels and how to use it for hotels. And then I finally had like, okay, he's got this whole thing, but then I've got a way, I now know how to use the platform really well and I've really caught on to it. And I saw how much success we had in the hotel industry really fast using LinkedIn. I was like, what if I just did this for my own business? Like, now I had a vehicle because I'd never done sales. I was always in leadership GM positions. And so I was really worried about going out on my own, going, how do you get one client?
Transact.
Yeah. How do you even get one person, right?
Yeah.
For hotels, I just put up a hotel website and people book. I use booking.com listings,
Right, yeah.
And then so between him telling me what content would work or how to start making content or just doing it, not even how to do it, just just do it. And then this other guy teach me how to use LinkedIn. I was like, okay, I've got this. So yeah, so like one day, hopefully I'll get to meet him. And even if it's just to say thank you.
Totally.
You know?
Oh, I mean, so much good has been done through his content. Like, I think he's often misunderstood, but in my mind, he, the world owes him a favor. Like, he's such a positive influence, and
100%.
just put so much effort into education, and like, I guess dismissing anyone's like self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. He's definitely misunderstood because people see the sound bites, It's the same even with us. Like, there's a bunch of people who think the shit we say online, we do a lot of humor on our attention seeker channel, and then on my personal one, I say stuff for clickbait specifically. If you read the whole thing, you'll realize you'll get into it. But like
the context of it,
you'll use headlines to draw people in, but then some people just read the headline.
Yeah.
So people take us out of context all the time, and it is what it is.
It's just the way,
yeah, you get haters along the way, and he's obviously got a lot because he's got a lot of positive people too. But I agree with you. He's done so much.
Yeah.
He's done so much for me, so much for a lot of people I talk to. And this concept of like building media companies inside your business, like he's the pioneer of that.
Absolutely.
That was him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I love it.
Yeah. So good. Well, I should probably let you get going.
Oh, shit, it's 5 o'clock already. Look at that. There we go.
I appreciate that. I'm so glad it worked out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
It's always a good excuse to meet someone new and to sit down and, especially when there's shared interest, it's just a good time. So.
That was awesome. Thanks for letting me have a chat. I'm usually the other side of this, so it's good.
Absolutely.
Cheers, man.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
See you around.